Israel during next week UN conference?
Right now, the president views the situation in Israel and Gaza as deeply unfortunate and needing to end. And the president is realistic about the current state of affairs in this region of the world. And that's why the president has said the #1 focus and priority of the administration is to release all of the hostages from Gaza and to end this conflict as soon as possible. The administration is still pushing very hard for the release of all the hostages. And as for what happens next, clearly Gaza is an uninhabitable place. It needs to be rebuilt with the help of our Arab partners, and the president wants to see that happen as well. Take a couple
Just one on the G7 engagement. President Trump is traveling there on Sunday. Other presidents beyond the G7 leaders are also going. President Lula from Brazil, President Sheinbaum from Mexico, and President Zelensky from Ukraine are also going. Do you have confirmation if President Trump is meeting any other leaders on the sideline of the G7?
Yes.
To know about the Lula engagement in Lula.
I can confirm there will be quite a few bilateral meetings between the president and other foreign leaders. The White House is still working very hard to finalize that schedule, and we will provide that for you as soon as we have it.
Great.
Thanks, Kathleen. Just back to the China trade deal, can you talk about the status of the export controls that the U.S. imposed? Are those no longer being imposed?
We are fully complying with the Geneva Agreement. Sure. Go ahead. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. One foreign question for you and one domestic. The foreign, the president, of course, has said he would lift sanctions on Syria. Is there an executive order coming along soon to go do that? And is the president planning to try to get involved in any kind of a peace agreement between Israel and Syria that would disengage those two?
To the best of my knowledge, the Treasury Department took action after the president made that announcement in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. And then on the domestic side, you were just asked about the First Amendment rights issues. In the president's comments yesterday, though, he just said protesters would be strongly dealt with. In your list before, you referred to insurrectionists, rioters, and protesters together. Obviously, they're quite different from your earlier answer. I'm struck by the fact that the president has not at any point said the most important thing here is to protect the First Amendment rights of peaceful protesters. So I'm wondering, where in his hierarchy of interests does he place that? Is the First Amendment protection the most important? Is stopping violence most important? Why is he not out saying all peaceful protesters will be protected?
I think two things can be important at the same time. And the president, as I just answered, supports the right of Americans to peacefully protest. He supports the First Amendment. But that is not the majority of the behavior that we have seen taking place in Los Angeles. We have seen mobs of violent rioters and agitators assaulting law enforcement officers, assaulting our federal immigration authorities. And we have seen, as I said, this goes back to what this administration is trying to do and accomplish, and that's enforcing law and order in our nation's communities. And it's removing public safety threats from communities in Los Angeles.
You're saying the majority have not been peaceful, the majority have been violent.
I just read for you the arrest numbers. We've arrested nearly 400 illegal aliens alone, just illegal aliens who have been arrested in these riots since June 6th, since they began.
Thousands of people on the streets.
Yeah, and we've had hundreds of people who have assaulted law enforcement officers. Are you saying that that's that's appropriate behavior?
No,
Are you
no,
saying
I'm not
that
saying
the
that at all.
president
I'm
shouldn't
just
take
trying
action?
to figure out.
The Democrat governor and the Democrat mayor of Los Angeles have failed their citizens. And the majority of Americans, the majority of Californians do not want to see law enforcement officers being assaulted in the streets. And thankfully, the president took action and stepped in to protect our federal law enforcement agents, to protect federal buildings, to protect the federal mission of deporting illegal criminals off of our streets. And that mission will continue every day as far as we're concerned. Thank you, guys.
And we'll continue to follow the top headlines from around the country and around the world here on Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. We're back after this. Welcome back into Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. Los Angeles DA Nathan Hochman and other officials detail charges against anti-ICE demonstrators in Southern California.
Thank you very much for coming today. I will be joined, my name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. You'll hear after myself from Sheriff Robert Luna of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and then Jim McDonald, the Chief of the Los Angeles Police Department. Announce the charges, the state charges that have been brought that are tied to these immigration protests. Let me first put an overview about the charges. The complaints and the information you will hear about the charges today are not evidence. Evidence has to be presented in a court of law. An individual is presumed innocent until and unless they are proved guilty in that court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. So the discussion of the charges today is just that. It's a discussion of charges and not ultimately, or it does not ultimately constitute evidence of the crimes that will be presented in a court of law. So I first want to start out with a thank you. On behalf of the District Attorney's Office, I want to thank the hundreds of law enforcement officers from the LAPD, from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, from their related law enforcement agencies that have come to Los Angeles to help out in this situation. It is not a situation, certainly, that law enforcement intended to actually have happen. Both the District Attorney's Office, the LAPD, the LA Sheriff's Department, and local law enforcement do not participate in federal civil immigration enforcement. I want to make that crystal clear. We were not alerted ahead of time that this was going to happen. We were not involved in the participation of it or the staging of it. We are not involved at all with respect to federal civil immigration enforcement. What happened, though, is that though the law enforcement has done its absolute best to protect individuals who wanted legitimately to protest, to use their First Amendment rights of speech, to peacefully assemble. And when I say law enforcement has worked incredibly hard, they have worked overtime to make sure that people who want to engage in this legitimate protest have the opportunity to do so. The District Attorney's Office equally will fiercely protect people's rights to peacefully assemble and peacefully engage in First Amendment protected speech. However, when that speech crosses over from protected speech into illegal conduct, the people who engage in that illegal conduct will be prosecuted. They will first be arrested, they will be prosecuted, and they will be punished to the full extent of the law. We have said this repeatedly. We've said this as a warning to people who are thinking about conducting these illegal acts, pretending that they are engaged in protests, but at the moment they engage in the illegal acts, they are no longer legitimate First Amendment protesters. They are criminals, and they will be prosecuted as criminals. If people want to hurl insults, we will protect that. If people want to engage in crimes, we will prosecute them. So hurling bricks, hurling cinder blocks, hurling fireworks will not be tolerated in this county, now or ever. So when we talk about the cases that we are brought, I'm going to highlight 5 cases today that we have brought in order to, again, not to give an example of the types of cases that we are bringing, and as importantly, the types of potential criminal consequences the individuals who've engaged in this criminal activity will face. And in saying that, we will be having literally dozens and dozens of additional cases that will be brought to us from law enforcement to consider filing. In the weeks to come, we will look through all those cases. And by the way, as a quick aside, for any individual who's engaged in criminal conduct but did not get immediately arrested, let me provide some bad news for you. There's a tremendous amount of video out there through social media and otherwise. We will know who engaged in this conduct. We will track you down, we will arrest you, we will prosecute you, and we will punish you. So, for people who've already engaged in this illegal activity, we're coming for you. For people who are thinking that maybe this is a good idea to do, please take this as your warning. that if you engage in this conduct, please don't come to us afterwards and say, we didn't think anything was going to happen to us, because those prosecutions will occur. And again, before I go into the examples, let me give you one more overview. If you only saw the social media and the media reports of what's gone on over the last 5 days, you would think that Los Angeles is on the verge of war, that we are truly being attacked repeatedly over and over and over again, because that has been the media's message to both people in Los Angeles, to people in the state of California, to people in this nation, to people throughout this entire world. That somehow, every second of every day, there's another exploding firework on our street, that motorcycles are running into cops, that stores are being looted, that buildings are being vandalized and graffitied. But let me put this in perspective for you. There are 11 million people in this county, 4 million of which live in Los Angeles City. We estimate that there's probably thousands of people who've engaged in legitimate protests, let's say 4,000 people. That means that 99.9% of people who live in Los Angeles City or generally in Los Angeles County have not engaged in any protest at all. Now, amongst the people who've engaged in protest, we estimate there are hundreds of people, let's say up to maybe 400 to use rough percentages, who've engaged in this type of illegal activity. So what does that mean? That means that 99.99% of people who live in Los Angeles City or live in Los Angeles County have not committed any illegal acts in connection with this protest whatsoever. So let's put that as a context when we look at these images over and over again that the media wants to put out there to try and scare us all. And then understand what the resources that we can bring, that law enforcement can bring to this task. The Los Angeles Police Department has over 8,500 officers. Sheriff Luna has over 9,000 officers. The California Highway Patrol, the local law enforcement agencies that have all been enlisted and have been so generous in helping us out, bring additional thousands of officers if needed for any level of civil unrest that might occur. And that civil unrest has been on a downward trend over the last several days, but these law enforcement officers are absolutely ready for anything that comes their way. So let me describe these 5 cases. The first case involves an individual who has been charged. His name is Juan Rodriguez. He's from Gardena. He's been charged with 1 felony count of assault upon a peace officer, resisting arrest, and advocating violence against an officer that has caused injury. At 5 p.m. on June 8th, Mr. Rodriguez allegedly passed out commercial-grade fireworks to a group of protesters who lit them and threw these commercial-grade fireworks at police officers at the intersection of First Street and Los Angeles Street. He's also accused of throwing the fireworks himself at the officers. And one of these fireworks exploded and injured an officer from the exploding sparks. If convicted as charged, Mr. Rodriguez will be facing 6 years and 4 months in state prison. Second case, it involves Randy Paul Ruiz and Georgina Ravallero. Both have been charged with 2 felony counts of assault upon a peace officer. On June 8th, at approximately 3:40 p.m., police were holding a skirmish line at the corner of Temple and Alameda Streets, where Mr. Ruiz allegedly drove his motorcycle into a line of officers. Minutes later, Ms. Ravallero is accused of driving another motorcycle into the officers, injuring one and knocking down several others. If convicted as charged, Ruiz and Ravallero each face up to 6 years and 4 months in state prison. Third case, Timmy Polk and Raven Mitchell. This case involves both of these individuals being charged with 1 felony count of second-degree commercial burglary and grand theft. On June 8th at about 10:15 p.m., Mitchell was double parked near a Nike store in the 600 block of South Broadway that was allegedly being looted by a group of people. Polk is accused of stealing multiple items from that store and getting into the car driven by Mitchell. They fled, but they were arrested a short time later. If convicted as charged, they each face up to 3 years in state prison. The next two cases are Los Angeles Sheriff's Department cases. Sheriff Luna will provide additional facts about these cases, but let me just give a quick overview of each one. Ulysses Sanchez. Ulysses Sanchez has been charged with one felony count of assault with a deadly weapon, possession of a firearm by a felon, and one misdemeanor count each of reckless driving and possession of a smoking device. On June 8th at 9:35 p.m., Mr. Sanchez engaged in reckless driving in his minivan in downtown Los Angeles. Many of you saw the video footage of this where he was driving in donuts and injuring individuals. Mr. Sanchez is a third striker. If convicted as charged, Mr. Sanchez faces up to 25 years to life in state prison. The fifth case is Christopher Gonzalez and Jocelyn Johnson. In this case, they have both been charged with one felony count of conspiracy to commit vandalism and two felony counts of vandalism as well. On June 9th at 6:30 p.m., Mr. Gonzalez is accused of vandalizing an apartment complex down here on the 500 block of South Broadway, and Mr. Gonzalez allegedly painted graffiti right here on the Hall of Justice. They each face 3 years and 8 months in state prison. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Sheriff Luna to go into greater detail. But again, I cannot commend enough the tireless work that law enforcement has brought to this task to try and keep us safe and still ensure that people who want to legitimately protest get that opportunity. Sheriff Luna.
Thank you, DA Hochman. Thank you all for covering this story. I do want to start off not only by thanking all of you for being here, but I do want to take just a quick second to thank the district attorney. The day after the protest started, he called me. He told me he was assigning a special prosecutor to deal with violence against our deputy sheriffs or any other related police officers. And I really appreciate that, because just for a quick second, if you could think of the mindset of our employees having to leave their families and coming to work, to know that they're going to be in the middle of some of that isolated chaos that you've seen. It is good to know that when they are being violently attacked, whether it's with rocks, bottles, Molotov cocktails, pyrotechnics, pepper spray, I can go on and on, that they know that the individuals, that we're going to focus on them, and we have a district attorney who's going to bring forward charges. And just really quick, I received the same call from the U.S. attorney here in Los Angeles, and I think all of you saw something earlier today where he is doing the same thing with federal charges. So I just say that, and Mr. Hochman said it perfectly and articulated it very well. There's a big distinction between individuals that protest and demonstrate to violent, destructive, basically anarchists. I mean, just creating that chaos. What we're talking about are the individuals who don't care about the issue at hand, because we will facilitate all peaceful First Amendment activity. But when you have people that are out here to commit acts of violence against our deputy sheriffs or police officers, or they're destroying our city, we're going to stop it. You see it, it's frustrating, and as the days have gone on, arrests are climbing, and now the prosecutions are taking place. And just this warning, because if you didn't get caught the last couple of nights, there's a lot of evidence out there, and you're probably going to get detectives or others knocking on your door and arresting you and bringing you in for either committing all these acts that we've talked about. So just a little bit on some of the cases. On Saturday, during civil arrest in Paramount, a local gas station was burglarized, looted on Alondra Boulevard. After the Unlawful assembly concluded. Compton deputies responded to the gas station to secure the location and take the reports of the burglaries that had occurred. While at the location, an individual shouted at them and threw 2 full cans of beer. And I don't think it was to say thank you. It was for the opposite reason. The deputies ordered him to leave. However, he refused and threw a 3rd full can of beer at our deputies. Based on the suspect's assaultive actions, deputies used less lethal force, specifically a 40-millimeter baton launcher, striking the suspect. The deputies were able to immediately handcuff the suspect without any further incident. The suspect, 20-year-old Eduardo Cervantes, a resident of Linwood, was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer. He was released on his own recognizance yesterday at the Compton court. Separately, 2 suspects arrested for felony vandalism here at the Hall of Justice. On Monday, deputies were driving in the 200 block of Temple Street near the Hall of Justice when they observed an act of vandalism in progress. They witnessed a 20-year-old Christopher Gonzalez Reese defacing the south wall of the Hall of Justice building, not with a spray can. He was literally standing there with a paint roller, a very long stick, and writing graffiti over an area measuring about 18 feet by 12. The suspect was using beige paint, and the content of the graffiti included profanity directed at a federal agency. The same suspect was previously identified as the same individual who was observed committing a similar act of vandalism on the south wall of a building located in the 500 block of North Broadway. In both occurrences, a second suspect identified as 40-year-old Jocelyn Johnson appeared to act as a lookout and was observed video recording the acts of vandalism. Following the second incident, deputies contacted both suspects and took them into custody. A search of their vehicle led to the discovery of large buckets of paint and a 10-foot extension pole believed to have been used in the commission of these crimes that were described. Both suspects were arrested and booked on felony vandalism charges. Just as I wrap up and before I turn it over to my partner, Chief Jim McDonald, I just want to reiterate, we will facilitate the peaceful protest, and thank God 99% of them are taking place in this one square mile area here in the city of Los Angeles, and then when you saw in Paramount and Compton on Saturday. We are going to do everything we can to protect our employees when they're being attacked. So if you come to demonstrate, that's great. If you come to throw things at us, attack our employees, you're going to get arrested, maybe not that day, but later, and you're going to get prosecuted. And not only may you serve significant time in jail, but there's going to be fines behind that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief McDonald, and I'll be available for questions after he has completed his portion.
And coming up after the break, we'll take you out to hear the remainder of these remarks.